Welcome back. This is the Daily Brief. Let's cross over now to a press briefing happening by the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Mining and Petroleum, Honorable John Munyes, addressing in regards to matters operation of the new Mombasa-Nairobi pipeline. Let's listen in.
Any product, because it's readily available in good numbers, in good amounts, and that the company will now save this country the damage on our roads by tracking, by piping this product in this extended pipeline. It means we're saving damage on roads, the safety of our people, because more often we see trucks crashing and injuring people. There'll be safety on our roads. It will be quicker and safer to get our products now through a pipeline and not trucking. So there's a lot of gain we got from this. And we'll be saving a shilling, which is we've been reimbursing the transporters. And if we've computed that in the month of August, we'll see prices come down. The Mwananchi will now see prices go down starting August. We have also calculated in 6 years on the 1 shilling saving will accrue over 42 billion shillings, which is enough to pay this project. This is a reality. This project will be paid by Kenya Pipeline. The costs we undertook to construct this pipeline is payable in 6 years from the saving we'll do by not paying the 1 shilling to the companies that are transporting on the road.
Maybe a reduction in the cost of living is anything that any Mwananchi would want to see. Would you maybe estimate for us in terms of a percentage, maybe what sort of reduction would citizens be seeing?
Well, saving in terms of prices, as soon as you reduce on prices, oil prices, it means it impacts on the economy. In terms of the transport element, I mean, the amount of money they are spending on transport will in turn affect the products they're selling. So that in turn helps to improve the lives of Kenyans. They will not be spending a lot of money. They are now spending on the price of petrol. It will be saving on their pockets. But I can't quantify how much now, but it's going to be a big saving in the long run.
Bonasang, you earlier hinted that there were 6 financiers who came on board and facilitated around 35 billion, and the whole project costs around 48 billion shillings. So maybe who financed the difference? Was it you? And where was the money directed? Was the whole amount? Did the whole amount go to the line? And how much was used in constructing the reservoir tanks?
All right. The cost of the pipeline is 48.4 billion shillings. 70% of that we borrowed from the 6 banks, to the tune of 35 billion shillings. 13.4 billion was from the Kenya Pipeline cash reserves. And we were able to finance that from our internal reserves. The tanks as well, the capacity, more than doubling the capacity in our storage from 100 million liters to now 233 million.
Taking questions alongside the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Mining and Petroleum, that is the Kenya Pipeline Managing Director, Joe Sang. But this is indeed the question that we are simply asking you as we wrap up the discussion right now. We've been asking you simply whether governors should actually be granted immunity as they had requested, similar to that of the President that he enjoys while he is in office. 243 of you have participated in this. 88% say no, 9% say yes, and 3% are not so sure. William K. Marsh says why, if they want that, they should stop stealing. His words there. Korir Lenny says not at all. They should be arrested and they have to resign immediately. Regards to those who are found culpable. And then let me just look for one more here. Nick Miner says the root cause of that suggestion is simply corruption and nothing else, perhaps to use this as a scapegoat. So keep your feedback coming. We still have quite a number of minutes before we wrap this up. Now, gentlemen, we had the Mining Cabinet Secretary, Mr. John Munyes, saying that there are quite a number of good projects that have been launched by the Kenya Pipeline, and of course including even LAPSET and the likes. But then corruption still seems to be the problem that is hindering this. Joe, your take on that?
Yeah, you see, the problem is that in our country, it seems everything you touch is corruption. Even anything you touch is corruption. But I would want to ask myself, what is corruption? And how are we going to end it? And what is the problem facing our country? And how are we going to get out of this problem? Ian, if you ask me, I think we are mismanaging our country by the way we are handling or the way we are dealing or the way we are doing business. And that's why you see everything sounds to be corruption. There are so many questions which Kenyans need to ask themselves where we are at this particular moment, because we are not doing things right. And this pertains to the institutions which have been mandated to run the affairs of the state, the people who have been mandated to do so, and so on. The list is endless here. So I don't want to say that everything is corrupt or everyone is corrupt in the country.
Joe, there's a story we have to cross over right now. It's one of the stories that Kenyans are reacting to, and sorry for interrupting you, where those who have been employed by the standard gauge railway line are complaining of mistreatment and discrimination by their Chinese counterparts, amongst other issues. In fact, as we listen into this particular press briefing, I'll bring to your attention the front page of the People Daily, which has that particular story in detail. Addressing this issue right now is government spokesperson Eric Kiraithe. Let's listen in.
Instagram and so on and so forth, their system of airing complaints. That is unethical, that is unprofessional. The next thing is that, have I compared the Kenyan contractors with Chinese contractors? I am not in the business of comparing anybody, but when you move out there in the street, not only contractors, a lot of Kenyans and indigenous Kenyans, not naturalized, are increasingly preferring foreigners in their staff. That is why the Directorate of Immigration has a lot of issues with work permits. Why are foreigners finding jobs here? They are not more qualified than we are. The Chinese did not come because we had the competence. And therefore, what I have called upon you is that we must boldly have the courage to face our work ethic. And don't misquote me. I'm not saying any worker should be discriminated in the workplace. I am not saying any person should be treated in a humiliating way for the sake of a job, but I'm saying that there are standards and recommended practices world over on how organizations run. There are basic tenets of projects that you must complete it in time according to the specifications and within budgets. You don't need to do a lot of research to realize that we are losing a lot of jobs to foreigners, especially in civil and huge engineering projects, because those words are very foreign to us. The language of stalled projects, overrun budget, is permanently engaging even our parliamentary committees. And therefore, I am not saying this to be an apologist as a Kenyan. I'm a very proud Kenyan. But I think there is something we can learn from other cultures in terms of projects, management, and implementation. I won't apologize for that. Next question.
Reacting to claims that have been raised by those who've been who've been employed by the standard gauge railway in regards to matters discrimination, and of course the fact that even the People Daily today reports that Chinese firm has gagged Kenyan employees, claims that staff at SGR forced to sign non-disclosure documents promising to desist from discussing company issues on social media, even as the workers' union claims racial discrimination, pay disparities, unfair treatment and labor practices, which Kotu now wants to be investigated. You can get more details on that on your copy of the People Daily. Now, it is public knowledge, Mheshimiwa Mutambo, that the SGR, rather the China Bridge and Road Corporation, was actually given a period of 10 years to manage and maintain the SGR. And these are initial complaints coming from their staff. I don't know if you've had a chance to go through that particular story, but what is your initial reaction?
You see, like I said before, Ian, that the way we do our business, the way we manage our country, is like you are mortgaging our country. And that's the problem is right there. We need to look to all the issues, not only the SGR. If I ask today, and I have no fear when I say this, Ian, why did we sell Safaricom? Why did we sell 40% shares? If we ask as Kenyans, not as K24, if you ask why did we sell 40% shares to Vodafone, every year we give 20 billion to our colonial masters, to our former colonial masters. How much did they invest in this country? You know, we are mortgaging our country, and we keep on crying on a daily basis. I was in Ethiopia. Ethiopia, they have managed to run their infrastructure by just telecommunication business only, because it is the state which runs it, which runs the telecommunication. They collect enough revenue to build even a railway. Here we are borrowing money to build a railway. In Ethiopia, they are using their own resources and their own collection to build a railway. That's the difference.
Some say the
so what we are doing, we are mortgaging our country. Let me tell you, Ian, we are mortgaging our country without knowing. And actually, I like what the president is doing. He's saying that you want to go to Switzerland and get the money which has been kept there. You wonder, what if you are patriotism and you love your country, why would you bank outside to your country? Why would you invest outside and not to build your own country? Why would you keep that money there if you have not stolen it? Unless you are doing a business there. And I'm saying this with a lot of respect to intellectual property rights. I'm saying this with a lot of respect. Okay. But when we need to audit ourselves, and we need to audit our country.
Okay, Gakwe, let me get your initial reactions about this. Kenyans who have been employed at SGR are now complaining. You do remember that this is one of the projects that was launched just recently with a lot of fanfare and, of course, with a lot of praise on the impact it will have on the Kenyan economy.
Yeah, one thing is that, in fact, as a nation, we must ask ourselves, how do we relate with every other contractor that we award a project to run? Because I don't see any big reason why a contractor who runs a line can be able to come here and use what we call issues of separateness in terms of service with what we call the local workers. I don't see this happening, because for sure, unless surely we are completely out. There has to be what we call order of the day, or the kind of contractual agreement. If this, for sure, we want to save our people, I don't see why works that actually our people can be able to work can be given to foreigners. You can give a contract to a foreigner to run, but every other a skill which is which has to be in that particular line has to be the local skill.
Yeah.
Yes, and this particular case, if it's a true case, then we are going wrong.
And something maybe that we can confirm, Steve, is that the fact that the signage even at the SGR is in Chinese, the workers are complaining, and majority of them are Kenyan. Actually, I meant to understand that
Eric consider that, in fact,
Eric is addressing this specific issue. Gentlemen, let's just listen in. I'll give you an opportunity, kindly, to respond to this. Let's listen in.
They are still there. I'm sure the management wanted to demonstrate to Kenya and to His Excellency the President that they have started in earnest. So the process is going on. You didn't answer my question. Which? How many Kenyans Oh, yeah. The number of Kenyans employed so far are about, I don't have the details, but Alex can give you, he has them. They're about 1,650, around that figure. And their Chinese counterparts are about half the figure. But as we move on, I had asked for that graduated. As we move on, at 3 years, the percentage will increase. At 5 years, the percentage will increase. A lot of review will be done at the 5-year point. And then the utmost ceiling will be 10 years. But the handover will continue very slowly. I hope all of you appreciate what it is to start operating a train service, a modern train service. It is not a very easy thing, and every person has to be very, very carefully trained. It's not an issue of just the technical skill of operating something. It requires a lot of experience and expertise. And going by the sticks, the cost of a derailed train, for example, the cost in terms of life, the things being moved, and also confidence in a system is very critical to be, you hardly want to discuss it by passing. Then, 2 questions that side.
Okay, my name is Michael from Barcelona. I have one question.
Yes.
Following this allegation of mistreatment, we have seen Secretary General Francis Atwoli proposing that we should have a labor officer strategically placed at the SGR stations. So I just want to know, I just want to ask.
Spokesperson Eric Iraithe says that some of these challenges are because of the transition as, the gradual handover from the Chinese company managing the SGR to before we as a country can fully manage it. But, my question was simply on the fact that the staff are even raising concern about the signage alone within the areas of operation, which still remain in Chinese. Eric Iraithe just confirmed to us that nearly half of the staff employed actually a quarter of the staff employed are Chinese here. Perhaps that is why the signage is like that. Your thoughts on that?
I think that's very funny. And it's a very sad affair. I think that I'm a very proud Kenyan, just like you all are. And I think that I wouldn't like to see myself or any Kenyan being treated like a second-rate or third-rate citizen. So, and I think going back to what one of the panelists said here, what's happening right now, it's like we are really mortgaging this country, and looking at these Chinese people. I'm not saying it's bad for them to come and invest in Kenya, do businesses here and there and things like that. That is very good. But I'll tell you for free that maybe in the next 5 years, 50 years, don't be surprised to see this country being run by the economy of this country being really run by Chinese or foreigners or things like that. Yeah. It's a very sad affair, and to see that half of the employees of working under the SGR are from the Chinese company. I'm just wondering what are some of these positions that they're holding.
He talks about an average of 1,000 Kenyans and 500 Chinese,
which is very unfair for us. Yeah. It's very unfair.
But this government knew that this is part of the deal we were getting in because they have to manage this for the next 10 years.
I don't refuse, but for me it doesn't make any logic to have 500 Chinese to have like 100 or 200, that's fine because, they are...
He talks about the complexity of managing and handling a railway line and station.
They should be maybe playing supervisory roles, which is allowed. But now, going to an extent of...
Unless surely we are not merciful to this country. You cannot tell me this country has been the service of Kenya Railway before our births. And then today you tell us that, in fact, we have no expert here to handle railway facilities. This is very ridiculous. Ian, this, unless it is based on maybe the run we took that is like a guarantee, so that at least within this bracket of 10 years, we have been repaid them. But I don't see any big reason why you can tell me that, in fact, you give a contract for running the line because the railway is a new technology. Technology what? We have experts who can just be taken to China to study for only a year or so, and they come here and perform well. Joe, so I think what we could have borrowed is only a few number of engineers from China temporarily, so that we can...
Joe, a show of no confidence perhaps on the people of Kenya? Could that be it?
You know, it's so pity that we cut our nose to despise our faces. What am I saying? That we do not trust in ourselves. Let nobody tell you that we cannot manage the railway. Give me that train and I'll drive it to Mombasa and bring it back. Give me that rail and I will manage it from morning to evening and nothing will happen. And give it to all other Kenyans. We have so many qualified engineers in this country. When you come and tell me we are having 500 Chinese to manage the railway, what we are trying to do is disservice to this country. I have no problem with whatever arrangement is there for the country to acquire a loan. If that the Chinese has to manage and then recover their money or have their money be paid, I have no problem with those arrangements. But I'll have a problem when you hire Chinese, you pay them money, and they take this money back to China. That you have cut 500 more Kenyans who would have gotten that money and take it back to their rural homes and build this country. We are shooting ourselves at the hip. And that's why actually I raised this question. Why did we have to sell Safaricom? Why did we have to sell Telecom? Why did we have to sell all these government-run institutions? Because we have no self-esteem and because we cannot believe in ourselves. And that is a big problem. There's one thing I like, and I want Kenyans to audit back. Go back to Catholic Church. Before it was being managed by these guys, fathers and whatever from out there. But today, including your village, the father comes from a place, and they are giving you the preach you want.
So this deal has already been signed and stamped.
We need to believe in ourselves.
Joe, this deal has already been signed and stamped. So let's talk about the way forward and perhaps the option government has here, all the way to Steve.
The government has got no option. It's a slave. The government is a slave of foreigners. And it has got no option unless we have Mutambus who can tell Kenyans what is happening in our country, and Kenyans wake up and say, you know what, enough is enough. We have to reclaim our country back. We are losing it. And I want to tell Kenyans today, go to Hapael, go to Kilimani. Go. And I'm saying this with a lot of respect to intellectual property rights. Go to Kilimani, go everywhere. Who has all the high-rises there? There are no Kenyans. They have given it out. Kenyans, watch out. Kenyans, watch out. Look at this other side of the country. It will go. Our country will go unless we fight for it. I want to be a dead in Kimathi, and I don't mind if I will be jailed. But I will tell Kenyans that we are losing our country.
Okay. Is it an issue of policy legislation? And if it's an issue of legislation, then you as members of parliament are at the center of this.
No. Anyway, one thing I was just to ask my question by myself is that, in fact, what is this after 10 years? Do you think that this country will have new angels to undertake? That angels are not there presently? Aye.
And after 10 years, we'll be given a dead project.
A dead project.
They would have milked it. They have recovered their money. Then they give you a train which is not moving.
Joe, thank you. Let me hear from Gakuya first.
Actually, if there is a contract that actually should be cancelled like yesterday, is a contract of this kind. Because surely...
But that will come with legal implications, as you know.
There are legal implications,
which will mean that the taxpayer will have to...
It's better to bite the bullet and sanitize what is wrong other than living with the disease.
No, you know, these are things that actually have never seen the light of the parliament. It is information which is very new to us, very green to us.
So are you saying right here on this particular show, Gakuya, that as a member of parliament, you did not see the details behind the signage that, of the Standard Gauge Railway?
Actually, I have seen it in this particular event. That's when it has leaked. It has been in the lockers. It has not been seen. I can only blame the Minister for Transport because actually there's a committee for transport in the House which has never uttered a word about
Ian,
this.
allow me to tell
Joe,
Kenyans this, because I was in the forefront. Allow me to say this.
Yes.
I was the first person to cast aspersion on the coal mining in Moi, where I was a member of parliament.
Okay.
And I said to these Chinese people you are giving this contract, they are briefcase guys. What happens 10 years down the line? Nothing. There is no coal, and there will be no coal in Moi, because the contract was given to a Chinese who are briefcase guys. And they come here carrying and speaking Chinese and with an interpreter. And we think they are cool. We need to reaudit how we do business.
You seem very passionate about this particular story. Let me just give Steve a chance to talk first.
Wow, I just love the passion with which these two gentlemen are really talking about all this. And I think my challenge to Honorable Akuyo is you should present this matter in Parliament and have it discussed.
Okay, gentlemen.
And I think what I wanted to say is I think the government should not play PR with this issue. They should listen to these Kenyans who are crying, and investigate and establish whether what is happening is indeed true. But the idea of even going to an extent of having a signage in Chinese, I mean, Kenya, we are not a Chinese-speaking nation. So that should be looked at, very seriously. And again, what I want to say is this: that going forward, I think the government need to also, as the economy grows, we also need to reduce our borrowing. When we continue, borrowing money from abroad, what they do is we become slaves to them, and they want to control what we are doing with their money.
Okay.
And that is not a good thing to do.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. So, Gakuya, perhaps the ball is on you, and maybe you can challenge your colleagues in the Transport Committee to follow up on this.
Ian, on a serious note, this is another matter that is not going to end here. This is a matter that is truly taking Kenyans taxpayers to a light.
Okay.
These particular bogies are going to be given to Kenyans when they are already worn out, when they cannot. And Chinese will just blame Kenyans, and they knew that in fact the life of this train is only 10 years. Yes. After that,
time will tell.
What is happening here?
And
Kenyans need to understand this.
Yeah.
What Chinese are doing, they are taking the top cream. They are using the engines are new. They are using them now. They are recovering their money, and they will give you a dead wagons. What will you do with them? You will have to go back again and borrow to buy new engines from them. Then they'll come and tell you, we have to manage to recover our money. Okay, that's what I'm saying. This country, we are going down, I don't know how many feet down. We need to rethink, we need to reaudit, we need to see how we are doing business. I think our parliament, and it's unfortunate, I was in parliament, but I could not make things go through, because the moment you raise something, you are faced with a lot of opposition.
Thank you, Joe.
I think it is the right time, and I pity my colleague.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
It's unfortunate. Okay, I don't know now. I have to leave it there.
It is unfortunate?
It's unfortunate the way we are doing business. Parliament will not help us. I think Kenyans will need to regroup. Okay. And I need 2, 3, 4 people outside. Okay. Like Kaguyo,
I think you already have three.
Come and
join
me.
Here. You already have
we'll recover our country.
2, rather. Thank you. Joe Mutambo is former Member of Parliament from Mwingi Central. Embakasi North Member of Parliament. James Gakuya, political analyst. Steve Makugutu. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Now, Angela Gadvi will be bringing you more news at the top of the hour, including the fact that 8 pupils from the Kisii High School have been arrested in connection to the dormitories that were torched last night. This is after they were captured, leaving those particular dormitories just moments before. They were captured by CCTV just moments before that particular dormitory went up in flames. So, shall keep you up to speed on these and other stories. Thank you very much for always staying with us right here on the Daily Brief. Our second part of the we've had Mudhoni Ogaki as a sign language interpreter for the second part of this live broadcast, and my name is Wafula.